So for those who don't know, my name is Kent Berkman. I'm a rising junior in Krannert, double majoring in marketing and Spanish, and I am joined today by Noel Paul. Noel, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So first, thank you, Kent, for hosting all the Instagram. Really enjoying today. Hope everyone's having also staying healthy. Forward to seeing you soon on campus. So for those of you, my name is Noel. I've recently taken director for center, and I started on the Tuesday full time, and today is actually the first full day on the campus. All virtual. Go into a season, share my own personal experience, and here in COVID times.
I'm sorry, Noel, but we're having a hard time hearing you. Is there any way you could move the camera or check your connection?
Sure, yeah. Let me, I do have to move a little bit closer. And I think the microphone might be, is this better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the microphone might have been muffled.
That must be it, but that's much better. So you mentioned that you're the new executive director of the KPDC. Could you share a little bit about how the KPDC serves students during a normal year?
Sure, happy to do that. Kent, did you want me to share a little bit about my personal and professional background first, or do we want to do that later?
Sure, you can go ahead and do that too if you'd like. That sounds good.
Very good. So just maybe just providing our followers a little bit of a personal background and then a professional background. On the personal side, I was born in Pakistan, and then my family moved to Indianapolis, Indiana when I was 6 years old. So I grew up in Indy. And then my wife was born in India, and then she moved to the United States when she was 2 years old, and she grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we've been married 28 years. We have two daughters, 23 and 15. And our older daughter just graduated from Purdue with an industrial engineering degree, and we just moved her to Chicago last weekend. So she's up and coming on her own, living on Lakeshore Drive.
Good for her. That's awesome. So after that, your professional experiences before you came to Krannert?
Sure, yeah. Can you hear me okay? Is the sound coming across okay now?
Much better, thank you.
Very good, very good. Okay, so professionally, I actually got my undergraduate degree also in engineering like my daughter did. So my undergrad degree is in civil engineering from Purdue. And then I got my MBA from Krannert as well. And so that's a great homecoming for me to come back to Krannert in this role. After I graduated with my undergraduate degree in civil engineering, I joined Eli Lilly and Company, the pharmaceutical company headquartered in Indianapolis, and I was there for 28 years. I did 5 years of engineering at Lilly, and then I moved into HR, and I was there for 19 years in HR at Lilly. And then my last 4 years was actually with Elanco Animal Health, and I led their global corporate social responsibility initiatives, also a global role. And that was, I retired from Lilly and Elanco in December of 2017. And then during my HR experiences, I had a lot of focus on the business side of Lilly, and then also responsibilities with international scope at Lilly in HR, working with the commercial side of the business. And then lastly, I did a lot of recruiting as well. I actually even led our MBA recruiting program for the company and even recruited Krannert talent to come into Lilly and Elanco. So it's kind of a full circle to be able to come back to this opportunity. And then after I retired in December of 17, I started my own career coaching and consulting company called Tiger Careers. So I was actually the executive coach and career coach for the executive MBA program at Krannert. I was working with the Purdue Foundry. I got involved in a health tech startup coming out of Purdue. And then I've also had quite a bit of entrepreneurial experience as well, because my wife and I have owned a retail franchise business since for the last 15 plus years.
And what brought you back to Krannert, Noel?
You know, I wasn't looking, and so was actually approached about the opportunity and really felt like it was a great opportunity to, like I said earlier, come back full circle. I have a passion for career coaching and for business. And since even my own startup company, Tiger Careers, was kind of in that space, I felt like this was a great opportunity to kind of just dive deep into doing this full time in a place that I have a lot of passion about, and doing something that I'm passionate about.
That's great. So within the KPDC, for those who might not know, could you share a little bit about how it serves students and how students can expect to benefit from it?
Sure, Kent. So I think the best way to describe it, what KPDC does, and we've recently gone through what we call a strategic framework exercise. And the best way to describe it is to think about it like a Greek Olympic Parthenon, if you will, right? So there's a roof, and there are 3 columns or pillars that support that roof, okay? And so for the followers, if you can picture that, the roof is really about our outcomes. And our outcomes are really about 2 things. 1 is transforming the lives of students, and 2, positively impacting companies with the talent that Krannert can provide, okay? So transforming lives and impacting companies. And the 3 pillars of that Parthenon, if you will, are really around student engagement, alumni, faculty, and staff engagement, and employer engagement. We cannot transform lives or impact companies if we cannot engage students, alumni, and employers to be able to achieve those outcomes. And so what we do is we try to put together work activities, business processes, staff to be able to really support student engagement, alumni engagement, and employer engagement. So those are some of our, what I call our key deliverables. But within student engagement, when you double click on that pillar, if you will, our 3 areas of focus around student engagement are education and training, helping make connections, and then coaching, right? And within the connections piece, we're trying to connect students to not only employers, but also to alumni, professional associations, all kinds of things that will lead them to be able to transform their lives. And so some of the core foundation of how KPDC operates is really can be defined in terms of our values. And our values are around passion for coaching, global leadership, and respect for diversity. Our approach in how we operate is really trying to move at the pace of business. So we're going to use data, we're going to develop strategies, we're going to execute those strategies just like people do in business. And then lastly, our mindset is going to really be focused on being student-centric and employer-focused. So if we feel like we can operate KPDC in that kind of framework with an outcomes focus that has 3 key pillars that rests on a foundation of how we operate, we think that'll really transform lives and impact companies.
And I know you mentioned student coaching, and one of the ways that the KPDC helps Krannert students with the student coaching is through Management 295, which is a required course for all Krannert undergrad students.
Yeah.
Could you share with us a little about what that course looks like normally and how that course might be changed to implement social distancing measures?
Sure. So first of all, in part of my onboarding, when I heard about Management 295, and I was asked to be an alum participant in 295 previously, calendars didn't work, but I was impressed when I learned about the what I call the comprehensiveness of Krannert investing in students through a course called 295, which really focuses on how do we not only help our students learn business skills, but how do we give them the skills to compete, because it is a competition, right? How do we help them compete in the career market? And so I think the Management 295's real outcome is building the career competencies of our students, and 295 is obviously for the undergrad community.
Right.
But I think some of the pieces of how we build the career competencies is, 1, we build self-awareness. And I think that is really important for students to be able to say, first of all, what am I passionate about? Where do I want to work? What's important to me from a functional experience, from an industry experience, from a geographic priority standpoint? Do I want to live on the West Coast, East Coast, internationally, live close to my family? What's really important? That self-awareness is really, really crucial, because companies will actually interview for that to help them understand why are you a fit for their company. So I think being able to kind of first reflect that self-awareness and then be able to communicate that self-awareness on why that company is a good fit for you is part of their assessment, because I've been on the other side of the table asking those kinds of questions when I was recruiting for Lilly.
Sure.
The second thing I think within 295 is really helping with what I call the blocking and tackling aspects of it. And what that means is, and for our international students, I apologize if that's a US-based analogy, but what I'm saying is the basics of a resume, your LinkedIn profile, helping you with interview skills. Those are all, although they're basics, they're super critical in preparing you to compete in that marketplace. And then lastly, being able to build critical thinking skills through case studies. How can you be successful in a work environment? What is going on in the workplace today when you actually get that job? And how are you able to learn those critical thinking skills? Because you're going to need those regardless of the function, regardless of the industry, regardless of the geography. So I hope that helps kind of describe some of our commitment to build the student capabilities using 295. And I think, was your other question about virtual?
How it could change this semester, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think obviously across all of Purdue and across all of the world, many things are changing due to the global pandemic. And we've obviously committed to providing a healthy and safe experience at Purdue. And we're adopting that same concept within 295. So we will have incorporated social distance guidelines within our delivery of 295. We do have, I believe, 5 sections total this fall. One of those sections is exclusively online. The others will be delivered in resident, but they'll be adopting social distancing guidelines.
Sure.
So we'll have in-person instructors. We'll have online online speakers as well. So I think one of the things that might be interesting for us to leverage this year is when we asked alumni to come participate into Management 295, it was always a travel question, right? Do I have the time to travel to campus? And now I believe with virtual technology, we'll be able to engage presenters and speakers from all over the world, from all over industry. And I think actually it might help us to engage a broader pool of resources for our students.
You know, when I took Management 295 my sophomore year, so last year, I was really impressed with the course, just like you were. You don't think that you'll be provided all those incredible opportunities to help prepare yourself for the real world, but it's something that Krannert does, and it's a great experience that they offer their students for sure.
Yeah. So, Kent, what were some of maybe the key takeaways or key values that you got out of it? I think I'm turning the tables on the questions here on you, but
no, that's a great question. So it's a lot of things you get out of it. Like you said, you get to go over your resume, you get the LinkedIn help, but there were just lots of great connections that I made. I made great connections with KPDC staff, with students in my class. I got to meet, I think, 3 different Krannert alums through different activities in the course. So it's just a great growing experience as a Krannert student, but it's really great preparation. And I think that the online version of the course, like you said, will definitely help leverage it. So that's really great that you found a way to offer it.
Very good.
So I know the other way that KPDC interacts with Krannert students is in the career fairs. Could you explain a little bit about how those look normally and how those might change as well?
Sure. So on the career fair side, let me start with what's the same, right? And what's the same is really that we're going to try to attract as many employers to recruit Krannert talent as possible. That commitment hasn't changed. The how will be a little bit different in terms of saying we have determined that all our recruiting events will be virtual. Our 2 primary career fairs will be on September 10th for the public accounting career fair, and that will be virtual. And the second one, we're actually combining our master's and undergrad career fair into one and calling it the Krannert SMEF career fair. And that's also going to be virtual, and that's going to be over 3 days, September 22nd to 24th. And we are going to be using a technology platform called Careeronomics to utilize that. We've used Careeronomics for some other career-related activities, but never have had to do virtual career fairs. So we'll be using that same platform. I think it's going to be a pretty valuable platform for students because there are going to be corporate presentations within there. There are going to be opportunities to have individual video chats. We wanted to stay away from just kind of text chatting. We knew that face-to-face, even in a virtual, is very important. So we made sure that whatever technology platform we chose would give the opportunity for students to engage directly with employers face-to-face virtually. So it brings that platform. And there's some other kind of value from KPDC that it'll help. And then the other aspect, because we want to be student-centric and employer-focused, is we think it'll create some interesting and ease of use for the employers, because the more we can reduce barriers of entry or reduce barriers to participation for employers, the easier we can invite them to say, hey, you know, come look at our Krannert talent. We think we have a strong value proposition, and we've made it easy for you to engage. So those are the things. And I think the other part that will be the same is really our commitment from our coaches to prepare the students to be successful in a virtual world. And so what you can expect to hear and what students can expect to hear over the coming weeks is, what are some of the offerings that KPDC will provide to students to help them be successful in that competitive virtual environment?
You know, it's an unfortunate thing that has happened with COVID and all the social distancing, but it seems like the KPDC and Krannert kind of get a benefit out of it. It seems like we're able to leverage more info, like you said, and we're able to connect more students to career recruiters, which is really great. So it seems like it's turned into a positive, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting lesson for our students is to say that, look, when you go into the business world, you're going to be dealing with all kinds of uncertainties and unknowns, and it's not the unknown or the uncertainty, it's how you respond to it, right?
Right.
And I think one of the things I heard from an alum recently was that Krannert taught him grit, okay? And so grit and persistence and being resilient and how you overcome these dynamics, I think has a lot to do with what people leave Krannert with intrinsically, on top of the ability to do pivot tables and regression analysis and NPVs.
Right.
Yeah, just the stuff that really, really matters. They're going to be, you know, leading in business.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree. Noel, in all your years of career coaching and in your role as the KPDC director, do you have any advice for students to help prepare them for Krannert or for internships or interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. So you hit a passionate button there for mine, because you know, I did a lot of career coaching at Lilly, at Elanco, started my own coaching company. I, you know, obviously coach within Krannert. And so I think a real, and you kind of heard me say this throughout today's Instagram Live, Camden, that is, it's a competitive world, right? And
Absolutely.
so how students compete, and I think one really important mindset that has served individuals well is, think about the marketplace for jobs as an Olympic competition, okay? And, you know, we know that in Paris 2024, and if we have freshmen coming in, or if we have Tokyo 2021, I mean, our Olympic athletes across the world are competing every day and preparing every day for that major competition.
Right.
Okay. And if you have that, I'm a gold medalist or I'm training to be a gold medalist mindset, you will eat differently, you will sleep differently, you will exercise differently. And if you're going to compete at that level and win, then you have to have a very different mindset to be able to prepare in that kind of way. And that's probably my biggest advice to students is, and not only students, but even working professionals who are 20, 30 years into their career. If they are hungry for a goal, if they are willing to train and get up early and stay up late and eat differently, they will win. Right. But they have to be committed. And I think KPDC as coaches, right, we are all in. But if the runner doesn't want to run, the swimmer doesn't want to swim, the coach can do nothing.
Right. It's really great advice. I think it's really true. You don't realize how competitive the job market is as a college student until you start applying to those internships and those full-time careers. It's really tough. There's tons of jobs out there, but even during a normal year, landing that internship, landing that job, it's not an easy thing. So it's great for students to take advantage of the resources at the KPDC and others at Purdue and make sure to maximize on that effort. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the Olympic, I keep coming back to the Olympic analogy because, you know, if you're going to compete at the international stage, stand on the podium at the end of the race, you know, you will have already competed at the country level. You will have already competed and won at the state level or local level. And you can only do that if you're continuing to pursue those immediate goals, right, towards those. So how prepared are you to be competitive for an internship? Because that internship will lead you to a stronger full-time opportunity.
Absolutely.
I've seen many students that just say, hey, I'm okay. I don't have to really get a full-time job until senior year. But really what's happening is over on the other pool, somebody is swimming early and late in that pool and it comes time to race, they will have already trained harder, better, stronger, faster. And then when someone is disappointed they're not standing on the podium, they don't realize that what they were doing for the last 3 or 4 years really determined that outcome well before they competed at the finals.
That's a great analogy for students, and I think it's really true. There's a lot to that for sure. Noel, on another note, another part of the KPDC, another benefit for students is career treks, which offer students an ability to travel and visit different companies. Could you explain a little bit about that during a normal year and how those might look different?
Yeah, so a great question. Career treks are definitely a valuable experience for students. It's actually valuable for the employers too, because I remember hosting some career treks as Anko and Lily, and it was an opportunity for us to brand our company to potential candidates. From a student side, I think it's a great opportunity to learn about the industry, learn about the company, learn about the culture of that company, to see if there's a fit with kind of your own self-awareness, and then also to understand what are the opportunities, because having that kind of information going into an interview actually gives you a competitive advantage to those that had not been able to go to that company or that industry, because now you can speak more intelligently, and the recruiter or the hiring manager is going to say, oh, he or she asked really good questions.
Right.
Well, because that career trek led to those information and that inside information, insights, if you will. And so I think the way KPDC plans and executes those is really to the benefit of the student, and virtually will still be kind of overlay for our career treks here. So we will do them. They will be virtual. We're shaping on specifically what kind of companies, what kind of industries. So there's still work to be done. But yeah, we will do that virtually. And again, to my earlier comment, could this present more unique opportunities for us to reach more companies, reach broader industries, because a virtual commitment might be potentially less burden for employers, easier for students because the cost will be less.
Sure.
So, there's opportunity here. We just need to shape it.
Right. I haven't had the chance to go on one, but I've had friends who have, and they speak fairly highly of them, and they get to make some great connections on LinkedIn and professional connections as well. So they seem like really great opportunities for the students. Yeah, and our coaches are really helpful to say, what's the way the student can maximize benefit and value from investing the time and energy to do those. So yeah, we're with you. We're with the students on that. It's definitely a unique Krannert experience, and super beneficial for sure. Noel, I think we're going to wrap this up. This has been great, but is there anything else that you'd like to share about the KPDC to our audience before we head out? Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity to connect here, Kent. I would say the closing comments I would have regarding KPDC is, one, there's a deep, deep passion for the student in our team, right? As I've been onboarding and meeting with everyone at KPDC to understand what really drives them, it's really the passion for the student. And I think the students benefit from that. The second thing is we're really all about kind of informing, inspiring, and coaching the students. So that's kind of how the passion kind of comes to life. And we're definitely committed to, as I mentioned to you at the beginning, is our overarching goal at the roof is to transform lives. We're committed to doing that. But as I mentioned earlier, is the accountability and the responsibility is really at the student level, right? We cannot swim, we cannot run, we cannot throw the ball, we cannot compete in the Olympic sport for the athlete, right? The student is the competitor. We're fully committed, and the students have to want that gold medal, right? And the coaches are here for those students that want to compete and win, and but the students have to be in the driver's seat of that car, to use another analogy. I think that you said the team's very dedicated. I definitely agree. I've had a chance to meet a lot of KPD staff during my time at Krannert, and it's a great team of people you have there, and they're super helpful to students, and we definitely appreciate them. Thanks. I'm glad to be a part of the team, and thanks for taking the time, Kent, and look forward to seeing the students, using and complying to all the Protect Purdue guidelines, but we're here, and we look forward to your success. Absolutely. Thank you, Noel, for taking the time. I appreciate it.